back to the 2017 DreamHack Hearthstone Grand Prix in Atlanta, Georgia. My name's Cora Songbird Georgia, and I'm joined on the desk by only Lorinda for this round. We are going to be duo casting, hosting this one for you guys. It's going to be round 7 of the Swiss, and we have a fantastic first match. It's going to be Cydonia versus Bloodyface. Cydonia, America's HCT representative, made it to the World Championships last year. Canadian player, highly, highly respected. And Bloodyface is a grinder, an Open Cup player, a name that a lot of people will recognize from ladder, but that you maybe haven't seen in large-scale tournaments like this. Yeah,
he was even streaming at one point, but I don't know if he still does. He was around maybe 18 months ago as one of the up-and-coming rising stars. I'm not sure he ever really up and came as much as everyone expected, but here he is at DreamHack putting in a good performance. These players both 4 and 2. We're letting the players at the top of the Swiss do their thing, and we're going to concentrate on the guys who might get eliminated.
Yeah, these are the do or die matches where it really becomes very tense, because 3 losses is a chance to make it into the top 16, but it's likely going to be players who won, 5 or 6 in a row and then lost 3 matches. So a 4 and 2 record, if you lose here, likely means that you are just not going to make the cut. A win still means that you can keep playing for your tournament life, however. So a lot on the line for these guys. Cydonia, very used to the pressure. He, of course, played in the World Championships last year, so he knows what it's like to be on a big stage with a lot on the line. Bloodyface, maybe a little bit less so, but I wouldn't count him out. He's a name that I see quite a bit talking strategy on Twitter, in Open Cups, on ladder. He's a very talented player. Just, again, one of those underdogs that people don't know a lot about.
Yeah, and Cydonia has had a tough time at DreamHacks as well. He's had some, I'm not going to read out his record, but it's bad and he knows it. There's various theories about that, but mainly it is just a bad run at a specific event. But it is last hero standing, and it is a format that I don't think he's particularly comfortable with. As uncomfortable as a top player, he does all the Canada HDG decks, he's done fine doing that. As uncomfortable as a top player can be, I mean, he's still rather good.
Yeah, he's absolutely good to go, and he can still take it all the way, get to top 16 in this one. I do believe Cydonia lost in the first round, however, so he is going to need to win pretty much from now on out. 7 and 2 records, 8 and 1, and of course 9 and 0. If we have any undefeated players left at the end of this, I think for Austin there was only 1. So it is absolutely a feat to achieve top 16 status at one of these tournaments, and these guys are hungrily looking for that fantastic finish. So waiting to see what they have picked and banned. We have not seen either of them on stream yet in the tournament, so we don't really know what to expect.
Yeah, no idea at all. We've seen Cydonia at various events recently, but again, he's not been doing great, so he'll still be playing around trying to find a lineup that actually suits what he wants to do. And Bloodyface, again, just a grinder. We haven't seen much of him. Just a grinder. I say just a grinder like that's a derogatory comment.
To be a grinder takes a lot of your time, and we just saw Tyler OOTD, one of the biggest grinders in the top 16 of DreamHack Valencia.
And it's taken him a little while to adjust here. He went 4-0 at HCT Winter and sort of faded off the scores. He did the same again. He went 4-0 or 4-1 at HCT Spring. Yeah. Was on stream, faded again, and then he started. I think he started 2 and 2 or 3 and 2 at Valencia, and then just started getting more comfortable in front of the cameras, more comfortable in front of these big crowds with all the people around you. When you're a grinder, you're sat in your bedroom playing 1,000 games a day.
Yeah, well, we've got picks and bans ready, so let's take a look at what these guys are bringing to the table. Here we can see Bloodyface is going to have Warrior, Shaman, Druid, and his Paladin ban. And Cydonia has Warrior, Druid, Paladin with the Shaman ban. So mirrored lineups, just different bans for these guys, but both bans seem very valid to me. Shaman has been hit very hard in this tournament, as it was in Valencia as well, just because it has incredible sweep potential. And we saw Paladin doing big work yesterday. We saw a cast that Falcone and I had. I think it was 3 Paladin 3-0s in a row.
Yeah, these are the 3 classes that merit banning. It's interesting the Paladin has drawn the ban, because I feel that the Shaman and the Druid are just above it in the pecking order normally. So maybe Cydonia's got a little bit of homework here. They are bigger names. Like we saw in the last round, they clearly had no idea what each other were playing. Taunt Warrior against Pirate Warrior didn't mulligan the quest.
Yeah.
For instance, just a sure sign they didn't know what was happening. But I've got a feeling here that maybe these two being bigger, it's not only easier to have a bigger scouting team around you, but if you say somebody, what did Cydonia play? you remember. If somebody says you watch that guy in round 3 called Caravaggio play, no offense to Caravaggio, you might have forgotten, it might slip your mind.
You may not be able to recall exactly what happened there. And I know people are certainly keeping spreadsheets. They're asking around for information on these opponents, trying to gather as much as they possibly can to be able to ban correctly and then lead off and counter their strategies as well as they possibly can. But when deck lists aren't open, well, it's kind of a crapshoot in a lot of cases. You don't know what you're up against. And because Cydonia banned the Paladin instead of the Druid, maybe he's expecting Bloodyface to have a Jade Druid. It is possible then that Cydonia's lineup is a little bit more aggressive because his own Paladin does reasonably well against Jade Druid. So that could be some reasoning for the Paladin ban instead of the Druid ban. And I think we have been seeing Jade Druid underperform maybe a little bit in that very last match where Caravaggio actually won Freeze Mage against Jade Druid. That shouldn't happen for all intents and purposes.
It will make a lot of the Twitter people very happy. Jade Druid losing to Freeze Mage is kind of the thing people explain how to do it and what to do. But I mean, Lothar and I were talking about something else for a turn or two there. Just this is over. And manipulating a way to get that Alex Strauss to stick on board. It wasn't over at all. And yeah, great play there. And it'll just make Twitter happy in general. And that's always a good play.
When Twitter is happy, we are happy. And now, hopefully, these guys are happy and ready to get their match underway. Round 7 starts right now.
All right, we are ready to go with the next round of the Swiss. Bloodyface versus Cydonia.
You've shrunk.
I've shrunk. I've transformed.
So yeah, we'll
go with transformed.
Cydonia and we just sort of. Sorry.
I'm taller than Cora. Thank you very much.
Damn, he noticed.
Yeah, and I've got to say, I think Cydonia is the big favorite here. I think everyone watching will agree with that. Cydonia, so many major performances, including BlizzCon 2016 World Championship appearance. He was my champion, I'm going to be honest.
How many packs did you get?
1.
I know that feeling really well. Doesn't matter who I pick. Yeah, it's going to be good to see 2 of these top players again. We just summed up with Cora, but we're going to see lots of X and 2s through the coming rounds now because the people above that line have got one in hand.
Right.
We can see them where they're in trouble, or we'll see them in the top 16. Whereas these guys, it might be the only chance we get to see Cydonia if he does lose this, and it would be such a shame not to see him. One of the best players in the world right now.
I absolutely agree, although some people would say, hey, we want to see the people that are doing the best. What's the point? You're going to get to see them later. But for now, 4-2, Bloodyface or Cydonia. Loser of this game is is eliminated, right?
Yeah, yeah, they are, because they didn't get such a tie break. So yes, they will be out of this tournament, like 99 and many other 9s recurring % of the time.
How many 9s is that?
As many as you can count to in the course of the cast, but please don't try.
Okay. Meanwhile, though, it's going to be Jade Druid versus Pirate Warrior to start off this series. Matchup which we would usually say is fine for the Jade Druid, but there is a big fat dino thing sitting in Bloodyface's hand there.
Big fat dino thing, Hydra, is just a staple in this particular tournament, I think, now. And it is just so difficult for the Druid to deal with. Turn 5, 8-8. Sometimes the Druid can get enough pressure to actually swipe face for 7. We've seen that happen more than once. You swipe face for the 4 plus the 3 from the collateral damage to the Hydra.
Right.
But in general, it's just really difficult for the Druid to deal with.
Earlier today, in fact, I think that even came up. But at the moment, Cydonia just going to have to last out as long as he possibly can. He's got the Jade Spirits that he can curve into on turn 3 thanks to the coin that he's held onto. It's not the slowest start, but on turn 3, summoning a 2-3 and a 1-1, it's not really enough to stem the tide of the early Pirate Warrior aggression coming out. Bloodyface having to drop Blood Cell Cultist just as a 3-4 minion because, hey, a 3-mana 3-4 isn't bad at all.
It's not, but having no weapon really relieves the pressure on the Druid. The Druid can, if it can build up a board, the main problem is it can't normally because the weapon takes care of the minions, whilst your minions are smashing you in the face. But if there are no weapons to be concerned about in the first few turns, it does give the Druid just that glimmer of hope that it can get set up. And the only thing really lacking here from Cydonia is a Wrath. He may just turn to Feral into Swipe over the next 2 turns. But he needs to read into what he thinks his opponent has got because they haven't played a weapon in these first 3 turns.
Now, so the big question here then is, can Cydonia afford to just drop the first Jade Spirit? Potential great reward later on if he did do that. Jade Spirit into Aya or Jade Behemoth. The Jades are getting really big, but here Cydonia feels as though he just has to remove that 3/4, which is a shame, but against the Pirate Warrior, pretty necessary.
Yeah, the theory of going 1 for 1 with your early Pirate Warrior opponent's minions is that eventually they draw into a weapon or they draw into a heroic strike or something, and they miss a turn where they don't play a minion. And that's the time where you leap into life, go, okay, now I'm going to start putting my stuff on the board, and then whatever you play, I'm just going to kill it with my minions, repeat.
Right.
But as it happens, you need to do it more than once or twice. You need to keep removing minions 1 for 1. And at some point, you need to take a deep breath, a bit like I do right now, and just slow it down and make sure that you get some stuff on the board. And this might be a turn where Cydonia is not taking a huge amount of damage, where he can just put a minion down to back his swipe up in future turns.
Yeah, it's not pretty at the moment just because of how unfavorably these minions trade. But you're right, the fact that it does set up a swipe, that's something. The fact that it does set up bigger Jade Golems for a little bit later, that's something else. And there's now 2 Jade Behemoths in hand, which means if he wants to, Cydonia could play turn 5 Jade Behemoth, turn 6 Jade Behemoth. That's a lot of taunts, that's a lot of Jade Golems. That may be what Cydonia needs to do to just hold up against this pressure. However, remember that big scary dino thing I mentioned earlier?
Yes.
Now seems as good a time as any to just drop that on the board if you're Bloodyface.
Does seem a good spot. In general, you want to save your Jade Behemoths until you're facing the biggest thing you can face. I said these exact words earlier. He's now facing the biggest thing he can face in an 8/8.
That's true.
And he may have to do that, Jade Behemoth into Jade Behemoth. Again, a lot of the time you'd rather save at least one of those for an Arcanite Reaper because it doesn't get through and you usually kill a minion and an Arcanite charge.
It's just unfortunate here because there are so many tools in Bloodyface's deck where if Cydonia did just play the Jade Behemoth now, it's super easy for Bloodyface to just deal with it. He can just trade in the 2 minions he's got on the board that are not the Pit-o-Tide Hydra. He can upgrade his weapon. He could just silence it away. He's got Heroic Strike, and that's just looking at his hand.
There is a huge chance that Cydonia knows that Spellbreaker's there, by the way.
Yeah.
Because Bloodyface hasn't played a weapon, and his minions have been kind of awkward.
Yeah, that's true.
So what is his hand? He may be able to pinpoint almost the exact hand here.
Yeah, Heroic Strike is fairly obvious because it's worth saving that burst damage until you can make a favorable trade or until you've got lethal if you're the Pirate Warrior. And Spellbreaker is one of the only other cards that Bloodyface would be holding onto at this stage. So you're absolutely right. It makes sense for...
This is just lethal, by the way.
Okay, cut me off right there. You're absolutely right. Oh my goodness. Well, that was fast.
That was fast. A turn 6 blowout here. Cydonia not... Wrath is so crucial in this match. Wrathing that 2/3 on turn 2, which has now done, what, 8 points of damage during the course of this game? If you get Wrath on 2, into Feral on 3, into Make Something on 4, you can get control of the Drib. If you don't get the Wrath, you just get killed by a Bloodsail Raider, even though it's not buffed.
Right.
And that's what happened there, and Bloodyface. Good looking picture there as Exhales gets that 1-0 lead. But
pretty nice start against a player like Cydonia. We're at the point now where he probably has played against some other big names. So whereas yesterday I was saying a few times, you know, this is going to be this guy's the local, his first chance to play against a big name. Probably not there anymore. Bloodyface going to be feeling a little bit more confident. He does have 4 wins in the Swiss already. But getting the first win in the series is always a big relief. It means that you, as the player, know that you are capable of winning these games. And it's last hero standing. The person who wins the first game ends up with a significant advantage over their opponent for the remainder of the series.
Yeah, just by the nature of Q and counter Q, getting that first one is more than you would think a lot of the time. I seem to remember a long time ago, but this is way before this meta, the chances of you winning, if you win game 1, are like 3% more than they should be. Right. When people do the stats, you know, whatever the chance is that you win, if you're 1-0 up in a best of 5, you're like 3% more than that because of the advantage you get through the way the counter picks work. But again, those are very old figures from a long time ago.
While these games are up. Okay, next game ready to go. Cydonia now queued into the Quest Warrior. So sort of a warrior mirror, but also quite the opposite. And Cydonia shuffling away that quest straight away, not even hesitating. Whole hand goes. Obviously, well, he's just played against the Pyro Warrior, so he knows exactly what the list is. And as the Quest Warrior, Quest doesn't really help you in this matchup. You just want to sustain. You just want to get rid of their board, put your own board down, put down these taunts, gain some armor, and the game just ends at some point.
Yeah, we saw that with Lothar. You just run them out of resource, and that was when he kept the quest, which did nothing, by the way. It did draw the concede when it was played, but only because it sped up the game by a turn or two that didn't need speeding up when it's completely safe. It's just completely pointless. You'd much rather have whatever this card is. It's a brawl. It's not the greatest pickup, but you're always one card deeper.
Yeah, you know, Neil, I'd actually rather have a Ravaging Ghoul, if I'm being honest. I'd rather have a Ravaging Ghoul than a brawl here. But, you know, brawl later on can even be effective in just clearing one minion. Even if it gets to the point where there's, say, a Frothing Berserker on the board and a Bittertide Hydra, Warrior can get desperate. The Warrior can just want to brawl that board. This board would be fine for the brawl if Cydonia had the mana, actually. Dealing 2 minions, it's about as good as it's ever going to get. And unfortunately, there is the quest pickup. Cydonia just picked up a card that says 1 mana, do nothing.
Yeah, next turn's good for him. He's going to have 5-drop turn 4, 5-drop turn 5. But this turn is really grim. And if Bloodyface can pick up something that does damage, like a Korkan Elite, he could be in a good spot here.
Here, the biggest problem for Cydonia here is that Frothing Berserker. When Cydonia first decides to put a taunt up, if Bloodyface has a way of dealing with the taunt without having to trade in the Frothing Berserker, then it's just going to get out of control. And it gets to the point where the taunt didn't really do anything, because the damage that Bloodyface is outputting increases anyway. So it doesn't achieve anything. The first thing Cydonia needs to do is get rid of the Frothing Berserker, which is where that Ravaging Ghoul I mentioned earlier would come in handy.
Yeah,
if
anything that injures things he needs right now to just get rid of this Frothing. He's not in the worst of spots. He is going to be able to put a lot of health on the board, but Bloodyface has had a turbo start. Oddly enough, with a deck that is built to do that, and Bloodyface isn't messing around. He's looking at playing this War Axe and just putting more short-term damage to face because he does have that Arcanite Reaper. He just wants to get the maximum damage out of all these charges, because at some point he will just be up against masses and masses of health.
Bloodyface's hand just looks very well set up for the rest of the game. Fiery War Axe now. Later on, Arcanite Reaper upgrade, Captain Greenskin. The amount of damage that this warrior is able... If you were ever afraid of Freeze Mage in the past and thought, wow, mages are scary, they can put out so much damage. Look at how much damage this Arcanite Reaper is going to put out over the next 5 turns.
Yeah, and something we noticed, well, we know, but we saw in the match earlier with Lothar, is that even though the warrior can stabilize, the pirates just keep at it, because the warrior can't finish you off. The quest being really slow or mulliganed away or whatever. And so you don't just need to get rid of the board a couple of times. You do need to stabilize on a number that is double figures. Because otherwise a sneaky weapon upgrade just wipes you out.
And getting rid of the board is nice, but leaving the 1 minion that you desperately want to get rid of is not so nice. Frothing Berserker sticks around to play for a few more turns. And Bloodyface just going to go ahead and play Captain Greenskin now. It makes sense. He's putting another big body on the board. The Fiery War Axe is still dealing a lot of damage. Arcanite Reaper's got upgrade later. Cydonia in a really tough spot here.
Yeah, needing the armor from this Ali Armorsmith, but again, it's just a glorified speed bump. And that might not be the worst pickup from Bloodyface. It's just going to allow him to keep slapping away. He does have that upgrade, and a lot of these taunt minions do have 6 health.
So if we're talking about the first Arcanite Reaper hitting 3 times with 6 damage, and the second one hitting 5 twice, then what's that, 28 damage just from 2 weapons and an upgrade? That is crazy amounts. Obviously, it takes time, though. It's not damage that Bloodyface can put into his opponent all at once, but someone's face is going to get bloody here. I just don't think it's Bloodyface's.
Yeah, and he is going to actually just get rid of this N'Zoth First Mate while he's at it. Doesn't need to reveal the upgrade because the turn pans out the same anyway. And this weapon could just go as high as 7. We saw 8-1 earlier in this exact matchup, although it was a slower start.
Was it a Rusty Hook? It wasn't a Rusty Hook.
Rusty Hook got big, but it didn't get that big, I feel.
What's interesting to me here is that Bloodyface really favoring keeping that Frothing Berserker nice and healthy. That thing is able to put out even more damage, and while it kind of sucks, he had to put the Arcanite Reaper into a minion that only had 2 health. Cydonia still not actually able to get rid of this Frothing Berserker. And over the next few turns, I mean, we said an 8-2 weapon's pretty big. Frothing Berserkers can get much, much more than 8 attack.
Yeah, they don't need much more, though. 8 into 15 don't go many times.
That's true.
There's not much pizza to go around when you work it out with that sort of maths. Because pizzas have 8 slices.
Of course they do.
And so on. But there is a slam. That is going to enable him to kill it over 2 turns, but is that too slow?
Yes. It is just too slow. Execute going to have to be played on the Captain Greenskin here, so let's see. 6, 11 damage there, 12 with the upgrade. Okay. Cydonia has a little bit of time.
Yeah, no charge minion pulled, like something like a Leroy there, or specifically a Leroy there would have been kind of awkward, to say the least, but Bloodyface.
We haven't seen many Leroy Jenkins in Pirate Warriors over the last couple of days.
We really have not.
I was talking to a few of the players earlier on today, and I just overheard one of them saying, hey, I haven't seen a single Leroy Jenkins in any of these Pirate Warrior decks. What happened there?
I think Hydra happened.
Yeah, and that's what I said to him. We've seen a lot of Bittertide Hydra. It's another 5-drop. It sort of does the same thing. It just does it slower, but it does it better.
It does it when you want to do it, whereas Leroy, quite often, you can only play it as a kill condition.
Yeah.
Sometimes you play it like 1 turn before to set it up.
Yeah.
Hydra, you just plonk it on the board and say, deal with that. And you have to tiptoe around.
Now, Bloodyface has some minions, which he's been saying to Cydonia for a while, deal with this, and hey, there's a Whirlwind in Cydonia's hand all of a sudden. So Whirlwind Sleep with the Fishes is a way to deal with everything. Only leaves Cydonia with 4 mana, though, which is not a nice number because the cards he wants to play cost 5 mana. I'm talking about the taunts.
Yeah, he is in a mess, but this is the only way to survive.
Yep.
That makes any sense, at least. And he's just going to have to hope that no charge minion gets ripped off the top here. And he hasn't seen one yet, so there's a lot of outs here for Bloodyface.
Anything that deals 4 damage or more.
Heroic Strike, not one of those.
Spellbreaker.
That's plenty. That does actually deal 4 damage or more next turn.
Spellbreaker has been dealing lots of damage during the course of this tournament, but this is not the turn the Spellbreaker was needed. Yeah, okay, Bloodyface can put it down, deal 4 damage with it next turn.
Right, does he reveal the fact he's got an Arcanite Reaper now, or does he go Arcanite Reaper Spellbreaker next turn? He could lose to a Harrison by doing it this way, but if he draws a charge minion, this is just so much better. So that's why he was taking his time just there.
Okay, well that kind of fixes things for Cydonia, though he's got no way of knowing that, unless he's predicted that this card that was only just drawn is a Spellbreaker, because he could play Stonehill Defender plus 5-drop, and then that would mean that he's not taking any damage next turn.
Again, there's a very narrow range of what that card could be. It could be a War Axe, it could be a Spellbreaker.
Yeah.
It could be...
It's not a N'Zoth First Mate, that would have been played.
Or that have won. Yeah, there's a lot of... No, that would have just won the game. So there's a lot of cards this is not. And, you know, Cydonia is a terrific reader of the game. Sometimes we sort of say people are reading into it and they're not, but Cydonia is one of those guys who will work out what this card is, give or take 1 or 2 things.
Well, there you go. Stonehill Defender, pretty strong start to the turn. Gives away what we can expect to happen for the rest of the turn. Not having the mana to armor up is unfortunate, but this counts as what Bloodyface has perfectly. Bloodcell Raider not going to do anything. It's just susceptible to slam execute next turn.
It is, but do you want to point out that Bloodyface's decision last turn gave him out here? Because he played that weapon, if he drew a Corpon Elite here, he would have won the game.
Yep.
So he gave himself extra ways to win by that decision last turn that was in the air. Shield block.
Oh, wow. Now, we've been saying a lot, not all of the Taunt Warriors run shield block at the moment, but the ones that do, when it gets picked up in this exact position, it's pretty great. Does Cydonia have the mana to squeeze it in, though?
So I think Slam gets played this turn.
Slam, I guess we trade the Ali Armor Smith into Bloodcell Raider. But then Shield Block and Crazed Worshipper, the mana doesn't quite add up. Or Shield Block and Direhorn Hatchling. Okay, sure, that works.
So he went through all that same thought process and came to the conclusion that, okay, there's not going to be a second Spellbreaker. Most things can't get through this. I'm going to take the one chance that he draws another Corcon Elite now to make up the fact that I just stabilize if he does not, and Bloodyface does not.
Luckily for Cydonia, yeah, Bloodyface doesn't get the 4 attack minion that he needs, 4-attack charge minion specifically that he needs. And now Cydonia has just got that little bit of time. He can hold on to this board now. He's got a taunt, he's got 2 more taunts in hand. He has the means to gain 7 armor next turn if he wants it. Things are finally starting to look up for him.
Yes, just hanging on in there by a third. He's made several plays this game that just involved, I hope I don't die, because this will give me a chance to bounce back if I don't. Those plays have paid off for him, and he is now on the verge of actual stabilization. By that I mean he can actually start gaining more armor than the opponent can do to him. And conjunction with all of these healthy taunt minions should be enough, and that's a great pickup because now he can deal with the Bloodsail Raider and still be able to press the armor up button.
Yeah. There's a certain irony to the fact that Bloodhoof Brave gets picked up now. Yeah, okay, it looks like Cydonia is going to take this game away anyway, but there are so many turns previously where he'd have loved to have a 4-mana taunt just to slip into his curve, and it wasn't quite there, but there it is now. Representing, here to watch the end of the game, as I don't see Bloodyface picking up the tools he needs to win this. Maybe another bit of Tide Hydra? Well, that would just die to an execute. Arcanite Reapers, both of them have been used up. Upgrades have gone, Captain Greenskin's gone. Bloodyface just doesn't have the damage anymore.
It doesn't. It's the 2 Reapers going that's the big deal.
Yeah.
Those are the things that can sometimes get you back into it by being buffed repeatedly. Interesting that Cydonia is just hanging on to this Slam Execute combo, even though this minion gets fed. It does put another taunt into his deck and just buys him more time, more chance of buying even more time. He doesn't need much more. Maybe 1 more turn just in case of disasters or in case of weird tech cards. Yeah, this is just the seal of the game right here.
Well, as long as he's got a taunt on the board, then something crazy like Leroy and Heroic Strikes and things like that can't do anything. So I do like the way that Cydonia did. Just make sure to keep these taunts down. There's that Corcoran Elite, which for several turns would have represented lethal from Bloodyface.
Yeah, Bloodyface can't even deal with one of these without losing a minion of his own. He really needs to be able to go sort of hit 2 things and not lose either of them. And like go 1 kill for 0 losses, but he can't even do that because of the way that Bloodhoof Brave's Enrage functions. And just not getting anywhere fast right now. I don't think we'll see Cydonia actually activate the quest here. This is again why you throw it away. You need the armor.
There's just no need. It doesn't do anything. The Pirate Warrior can't kill Cydonia. Cydonia does outlast the Pirate Warrior. His minions are bigger than anything Bloodyface can put on the board. Bloodyface has no way of clearing this, so Furious just not necessary. Cydonia just outlasted Bloodyface, took his first win of the series. We're now 1-1 in this vital set of games for Bloodyface and Cydonia. Loser of the series has no way of qualifying into top 16, but the winner's still looking fine.
Yeah, winner will have to win 2 more matches. The loser will have to hang around and play the side event later on, which is one of the big features at DreamHack, the side event. Yep. You get knocked out of the main event, especially if you're a slightly more casual player. There's a lot of money on the line. I think it's $1,500 in the side events alone.
Wow.
And you basically play against the main DreamHack field again, but without the top 16. So if you are looking to get into Hearthstone, you come to a DreamHack, you play the main event, and you have a nightmare, you go 0-4. You don't have to just slug it out and go 2-6 or something and hurt yourself. You can drop out or you can keep playing either way. And then you go to the side event and start afresh the next day and play against more pro players, play against a slightly weaker field because 16 players are removed, and give yourself another big competition. I mean, the side event here is as big as most lands that aren't DreamHack.
Right.
Just the side event is plenty.
That's true. But now moving on, one of your favorite decks, Neil. Back again, Jade Druid represented in both of these lineups. Have we seen more Jade Druid than Aggro Druid this weekend so far?
Yes. We didn't at first. It started looking a bit weird the first 2 rounds, but we are seeing Jade Druid being played, especially alongside Shaman. It just presents so many problems. We've seen a lot less Mage than I expected. It looked like we were going to have a lot of Mage, but we haven't seen so much of it.
Very strong counter pick from Bloodyface here, but it once again goes to show how large an advantage you have in Last Hero Standing if you win the first game. Obviously, Bloodyface won with aggro, so Cydonia queued his anti-aggro deck, and now Bloodyface has queued his anti-aggro deck.
Anti-aggro deck.
Anti-control deck would be a more succinct way of putting that.
Yeah, but I like anti-aggro. It makes it very clear, at least when you have a think about it, what's actually going on there.
And then Circle of Life next, Cydonia going to want to switch back to aggro. He does still have Paladin remaining.
He does still have Paladin, and he still has a chance in this one. He will be looking to force damage through when he's completed the quest by the use of removal spells. He'll try and keep Sleep with the Fishes to pair up with Primordial Drake and then shoot face for 8, or set up a shoot face for 8. He'll be looking to brawl and shoot face for 8 in the same turn as well.
Well, we had this exact same matchup yesterday, and we talked a lot about how there's always a small window where it looks like the Quest Warrior, because of the Sulfuros, is going to start to win the game. And in the game yesterday, it actually looked like quite a big window. The Warrior had complete board control even before that part, yet the Jade Druid still won the game. It's not an easy matchup for the Warrior at all. It's definitely got a very low win percentage.
Yeah, it's hard work for the Warrior. They have to not put a foot wrong, and the Jade can afford to make a mistake or two as well. I keep on about how, you know, we give these percentages, give these who's favoured, it's between players of equal skill, but sometimes it's less important than others. And Jade Druid in this matchup does get the chance to make mistakes. And the game will rumble on while these players get control of the board. Just a quick look at the rest of the tournament, just while we were developing this particular game, because it's fairly straightforward the next few turns. Players, there's 3 players on 18. That's Caravaggio, who we just saw, Syntherius, who we saw, and Hot Girls is also on 18 points. I'm pretty sure people will find that quite amusing. But the Gathering pack, 15 points, which is 5 wins. Chucky, Zalay, just saying. Pillow, Amnesiac, Noblord, Astrogation, Ginge, Naaman, Muzzy, Phenom 23, and I've not even read out every single name there. That is just some of the people who are on 5 and 1. Those guys only need to go 2 and 1 to make the top 16.
Have to admit, I'm looking forward to Hot Girls being put on stream for the first time.
Everybody likes to see Hot Girls being done.
I've met Hot Girls in the player area, and yeah, I think you guys will like Hot Girls.
Okay. Looking forward to seeing Hot Girls.
Not giving anything away there at all.
All right, so just chugging along here, cycling through, trying to make sure to get that Jade presence. Another thing that can go wrong if your Jades do not get beyond 8 health is they can just get shot out of the sky repeatedly.
Right.
And so that's important. And also, if they're not too big, I mean, the Warrior deck is able to deal with smaller minions just with its own minions. We talk about shooting them with the rag effect, but if they're not big enough, you just trade into them with your Bloodhoof Braves, for instance.
The Warrior is doing an okay job at the moment, sort of controlling the board. And what I mean is that the Jade Druid isn't on the board yet. Cydonia got rid of Fandral, got through the early part, and before the Jades get too big, this is sort of the only chance that Cydonia's got to get any board control. Aya is going to come down next turn from Bloodyface, though, and Aya has to be one of the best cards in Hearthstone.
Oh, for sure. For absolute sure. For once I got it right. Last time around, I think I crafted Princess Hannah Hura, whatever she's called, the hunter card on day 1.
Princess Hura,
yeah. And I didn't do very well with that particular card. This time around, I crafted Aya on every server, and I was a lot happier with my situation.
Yes, I think Aya is a really safe craft for anyone, but I'm pretty sure everyone already has the card.
If you haven't got Aya, craft it now.
Yeah.
Good card. Just thought I'd give that massively important public service announcement. All right, the Jades are starting to become relevant because they're going to start being able to punch through some of the taunts. They're not big enough yet, but as soon as they become relevant enough to start delivering face damage, then Cydonia has more and more pressure on him to take evasive action. No need to trade, though. He is basically the aggressor in this matchup, which is really weird to say.
It's funny how that works, isn't it? The anti-aggro deck ends up being the aggro deck against the anti-aggro. Oh my goodness, let's stop that train before we get any further. Bloodyface now has the ability to really create some tempo here. Aya summoning a 4/4. The Jade Idol, if that came down as well. Someone's a 5/5. Okay, we're going to go with Jade Behemoth instead.
Yeah, saving Aya for brawl potential later on. If you can play Aya down the turn before Brawl comes in, which won't be yet because the quest is still not complete, then you just get that automatic win, basically. And
holding on to Jade Idol for Gadgetzan Auctioneers, I guess there's just no need for Bloodyface to extend that far yet. He's going to get his Jade Golems up to 9-9 by the time he needs his Jade Golems at 9-9 in this game. He's feeling pretty safe. The top thing that Bloodyface wants to pick up now is card draw for the future turns when he needs it.
Yeah, Gadgetzan would be pretty tasty right now. Just going to use his Earthen Scales to get through one of these taunt minions. Absolutely correct. Of course, your health total as a druid is not that relevant. The damage comes in chunks of 8. Gaining 5 health is nice, but unless you're going to gain a huge amount, like 17, then actually it just doesn't slow down the rag effect enough to be worth holding on to for later. All right, so just choosing to populate the board with Aya, no other real plays, so not able to hold it as long as he would have wanted, but it's still going to do plenty of work. Meanwhile,
Cydonia, actually not a bad way of clearing the board there. Primordial Drake living up to its namesake, doing its job, getting a second draw off of the Acolyte. It's vital that this quest gets completed as soon as possible. It's the only way that Cydonia wins this.
Yeah, and it needs to be very soon because, I mean, the way that Bloodyface normally wins as the Druid is just by the normal Druid way. He's just going infinite, as people call it. You get a huge number of Jade Idols and stick them all down in one turn, then your opponent clears, then you do it again. But actually, he's just trying to win this the old-fashioned way with early damage and hitting people.
Right.
He's just got a decent enough hand that sometimes happens with Jade Druid, where you can just start...
I mean, hitting people is a pretty good way of winning in Hearthstone.
Yeah.
Ask Cora.
Wow.
I really hope she didn't hear that.
I suspect she did. It's being pumped out at about 200 decibels across the whole arena, and she's here somewhere. All right, so protecting his 6-6. Not putting a point of damage on it at all to protect it from execute, figuring that this is actually some pressure that needs to be sorted out here. Play around with the fishes, execute, etc.
Bloodyface still really struggling with that card draw. This is becoming more and more of a problem every single turn. Where's Nourish? Where's Gadgetzan Auctioneer? These cards which allow... Auctioneer in itself allows Jade Druids to just win games, shuffling these Jade Idols, going completely infinite, and just getting these Jade Golems bigger and bigger and bigger in one turn. It's just not present right now. Bloodyface has no way of filling out his hand. There's no Yogg-Saron or anything.
Cydonia can complete if he wants to play both Armor Smiths, and I don't think that would be a bad plan. He needs to... The one reason he may want to regulate that is so that if he thinks he's going to be ahead on Brawl because Bloodyface isn't playing much, he doesn't really want to brawl his own stuff away.
Yeah.
But other than that, he had the opportunity to complete. He can still do it next turn, doing it this way anyway. And it's time to start counting how many rag shots kill Bloodyface. The current number is 4.
Well, 4 that do have to make contact with the face. And that's one extra thing that Bloodyface has got going for him. He should comfortably be able to play a minion every single turn over time. We're seeing that play again, where Bloodyface created the excess mana, but didn't draw it. He's hoping on all hopes that his next draw is Gadgetzan Auctioneer, so that he can immediately play excess mana, draw 2 cards with that, draw with the Innovate, and just get going. But now he is on the clock as Sulfuras comes down.
Let the pew-pew begin.
This time, Cydonia probably going to want to hit the minion, but
pew
gets the face.
3 to go.
3 to go, indeed. There is a Brawl in hand, which allows for 1 50-50.
It's usually it's significantly more than 50-50, because first of all, you can just win the Brawl.
Yeah, well, that's true.
And then you can hit face even if you lose the Brawl. Plus, your Sulfuras often allows that to be the case too. So it is, I call it a 50-50, but it's more like an 80-20 in the reality of this situation. And so the clock is definitely ticking here for Bloodyface.
Yeah,
and he's got a good hand here at the moment.
He still just doesn't have card draw. I know I've mentioned it maybe every single turn for this game so far.
It's been a problem nearly every single turn.
It's a huge problem. No Nourishes, no Auctioneers. How does the Jade Druid ever get into this position where they're putting more and more big things on the board if they just can't get any card draw?
Yeah, he's sticking with that Jade Idol. Obviously, if that gets played, he just loses as well. And Bloodyface, this is a match that you would expect to win when you put this deck in your lineup. This is exactly where you want to be with it. And he's just got no good options right now. He will, by the way, have identified there's a brawl in Cydonia's hand. That left-hand card has been there forever.
23 health now. It's still only 3 rag hits. Oh, hang on a second. That's not any longer only 3 rag hits. That's 28 health, 8, 16, 24, 32. That's 4 rag hits that now have to make contact with the face. Weaker than Scales, yes, but it's bought Bloodyface some valuable time. Time which he's going to need to spend getting that Gadgetzan Auctioneer, for goodness sake.
Grim shot for there that time, so hitting the worst available minion. And now, though, getting down this extra minions of attack, if he can get some damage in with his minions as collateral damage, he can lower that number of hits required by 1 quite easily. And each one is, as you say, the difference between 3 and 4, that's why I like to break it down that way sometimes. Just so crucial.
I'm getting so stressed out for Bloodyface here.
You're a Bloodyface fan?
Just generally, I'm a fan of not getting draws this horrific. How bad the sequencing is. Both Wild Growths drawn at this point. No Gadgetzan Auctioneer present yet. Bloodyface had to get the excess mana, and he's held onto it again. And that's because if he spent it that turn and drew Gadgetzan Auctioneer, it wouldn't matter anyway. He's 2 mana short, so he'd have to hold on to it for 1 more turn. This way, next turn, if he draws the Auctioneer, he gets rewarded. If he doesn't, he gets 1 more chance to draw the Auctioneer for free. And if he does that, then it's still worth playing along with Innovate and Jade Idols. That's a nourish.
That is a nourish, and now
all right.
Things get rumbling, because he just can't keep missing. There aren't enough cards in his deck for drawing 3 to be a disaster, you wouldn't think.
So far this game, Bloodyface has just been idling, but now he wants to get
keeping the idol.
Right. Sure. But there's Gadgetzan Auctioneer picked up. So idling no longer, or idling in a moment, depending on which way you want to look at it.
I hate the way those 2 words sound exactly the same. And again, Cydonia did pick up the second brawl while you were explaining the card draw relevance, and so that is effectively a second chance he gets. But what's going to happen with this Auctioneer is the Earthen Scales is going to get found and buy a lot more time.
Yeah, Bloodyface, the double brawl does kind of counter the play that we've been describing with the Auctioneer, because he can now draw a lot of cards and put a lot of Jade Golems down. But ultimately, it doesn't matter how many Jade Golems he puts down the first time, because brawl reduces it to 1 or 0. And then again the second time. So this window for Cydonia to win the game is still wide open. Sleep with the Fishes, not going to do all that much. I guess it's just a hero power for Cydonia and see what happens. Maybe he wants to hit in the Armorsmith and play Sleep with the Fishes to get a 50-50. Yeah, okay. Or hit the War Axe in, I guess.
Yeah, and it's a good 50-50. Like, I mean, it's a 50-50 where if he loses it, it's fairly decent. Yeah,
this works too. Just hold Sleep with the Fishes.
He will want this to go face, I believe. He has the double brawl to set up successive shots.
That would have been way better going face, because now Bloodyface is going to build up a board anyway, which means Cydonia is going to be brawling anyway, which means that minion being alive didn't actually benefit Bloodyface in any real way. Bloodyface picking up the second Auctioneer now is quite hilarious.
Yeah, now he is just going to do that thing that everybody loves to happen to them when Jade Druid just cycles through, goes infinite, starts making your opponent have to do it. And on the magic total of 17 as well, I think we'll find that he takes time to get that to 18, because the Armorsmith might hit you for 1. I'm
going to be realistic here. I hate it when this happens to me, when I'm against a Jade Druid and this happens, but you've got to hand it to Bloodyface. The cards have not come in the right order at all. Nourish and Auctioneers both coming near the bottom of the deck, but he held on to his Innovate, and he drew the second Innovate now. Finally, something good happening. He's been able to pull off this turn. Swipe to finish off the Armorsmith. I like this.
Yeah.
Not going all in on the Jade Idols, sort of forcing the first brawl to happen now and having enough setup to last after the second brawl.
And you can see now the importance when you hit 9. If the brawl results in a 9-9 surviving, which is 1 in 3, and then the rag shot hits the 9-9, which is another 1 in 2, so 1 in 6 times, Cydonia will make no progress this turn and may even have to burn that Sleep with the Fishes in the future.
It survives. Oh, that's a problem.
Well, Bloodyface should be able to join to his Earthen Scales here, though.
Oh, man, that's a huge problem for Cydonia, I mean. Because now Yogg-Saron isn't even relevant this game. But Bloodyface can now keep going. He can just like Jade Idol shuffle and then Jade Idol, Jade Idol, Jade Idol. Yeah, get the Earthen Scales, as you said, and still have the second Auctioneer to continue the Infinite Jades going next turn. I think that was probably the worst brawl result for Cydonia.
Yeah, Bloodyface was happy to shuffle. He hasn't used both Earthen Scales, right? I don't think he's used one, but let alone two.
He's definitely used one. He used it on Primordial Drake earlier.
Just interesting that he's choosing to shuffle early. Obviously, you do normally do this, but if he is looking for that Earthen Scales, he's making it harder to find by doing that. But obviously, the board he's building up, plus he's going to be on 10, which is really important.
Exactly.
Means that he's just going to set up lethal repeatedly.
Yeah, I mean, depending on what he draws, he may... Yeah, he's armoring up this turn every time. Okay, sure, he's on 10. Cydonia is not actually going to have any way of picking up the lethal here. If there was still a War Axe somewhere, maybe, but I'm not sure there is. He's going to brawl, he's going to hero power.
If only there were charging taunt minions, wouldn't that be fun?
You play this, right? Of course you do, because then you've got a chance to just flat out win the brawl.
You look at these minions when you're facing 12-12s, and you wonder why your life came to this. Like, Tarlord usually looks spectacular. It holds off all things. It just gets run over by a bus here.
Yeah. I'd say these guys are actually bigger than buses. How big does a minion have to be a bus? 9-9?
Depends what route number it is.
Okay, fair enough.
Whether it's a double-decker.
Yeah. Tarlord's a double-decker, that's for certain.
All right, so doing this while he still has relevancy, got enough health to survive one lot, and does win the ball.
Oh my goodness, Cydonia might actually win this game.
Yeah, Bloodyface just needs to find.
So I guess it's Auctioneer, Jade Idol, Jade Idol.
It depends how many cards he has left in the deck. I mean, that makes sense, but it may just be Nourish into Jade Idol Earthen Scales.
Well, or just create a board that's so big that Cydonia's hero power doesn't have a good chance of killing you. Bloodyface knows both rules are gone.
Hold on to your hats, guys, because Cydonia is going to get a shot to take a 2-1 lead against the head. And I'm going to explain later why winning underdog matches is so important, other than the obvious.
Underdog, as in your opponent won game one, and it's now...
Yeah, just when you're like 40, 60, 30, 70 or worse.
Right.
You can turn those around.
Oh, the worst result. But the game isn't actually over yet, is it? Not quite. No, it is. It is over.
Your definition of over.
It's over. I thought for a second that Cydonia survived next turn, but no, 30 health is not enough. The 13-13 trades in, the 14-14 and 15-15 trade in. That's 29 damage, and hero power makes for the 30. Bloodyface is, after all, going to win this matchup.
And that takes a 2-1 lead. The deck's doing what they are supposed to do.
It's opened my eyes, though, because Cydonia had a very real chance of winning the game. And
yeah, just the use of those brawls was perfect, making sure that he got two to face.
And I was close to saying earlier that I think this matchup's pretty much unwinnable for the Quest Warrior. But
I think it's sort of 35% for the Warrior, honestly.
Yeah, that sounds realistic. That sounds realistic. When both players are playing at this level of gameplay, it is difficult for the Warrior, but Cydonia held onto his resources at the right time. Bloodyface got very unlucky with his card draw sequencing. I think it's fair to say that. Both Nourish and both Gadgets and Auctioneer in what, the bottom 8 cards, bottom 9 cards of the deck? Something crazy like that.
So if you're at home and you're looking to play Hearthstone and you want to win tournaments and it's something you haven't stepped into, learn how to play the underdog match as well. Just going to briefly go through it. So you've got to win 2 games in a row. That's the best way to look at this. And you've got to win an 80% game and a 40% game. The quick way to work out your chance of winning is to multiply the 8 by the 4, the 80 and the 40. That gives you a 32% chance of winning those 2 games in a row.
Yep.
Let's say you turn that 80 into 100%, so you never lose this really easy matchup.
Yep, okay.
So you go 100, which is 10 times 4. You get a 40% chance, obviously, because you always win 1, 40% chance of winning the match.
Yep.
So that massive improvement from 80 to 100 only gains you 8%.
Yep.
You do it the other way, you stay at 80%, but you turn your 40% into, let's say, 60, which is really, really stupidly hard.
Yep.
But do these numbers for yourself with lower numbers, you suddenly get a 48% for the same 20% increase.
It's a bigger number than 8.
So yeah, exactly. What you have to do is learn your underdog matchups, and if you learn those and you turn 40% into 50% in the real world, or 40 or 30s into 35s, you actually multiply through so much better than if you turn your 80 into an 82. Don't just spam games you're winning anyway, unless you want to get to Legend. You spam the games that you're an underdog in with your friends and learn how to win those matchups.
Sounds like good advice. I've got to admit, Neil, I'm not a human calculator like you are, but hopefully a lot of the people back home will be able to rewatch that and have time to understand.
Yeah.
And it does make sense, right? Like, of course, you improve the worst matchups, you improve your overall percentage of winning the entire tournament by a lot.
Yeah, whereas if you improve a matchup you're going to win anyway, you're not actually really helping yourself that much.
Just imagine the position that Cydonia would be in now, for example, if he did win that game with the Quest Warrior. Bloodyface would be down to just his Shaman, which would have been a bad matchup.
And this is going to be interesting because this is a very, very good matchup for what I've been calling Hoi Paladin.
Hoi Paladin.
The Deathwing Paladin.
Yep.
It's just so difficult for Druid to get into this. Even if you remove 2 or 3 minions early, which Bloodyface hasn't got the luxury of doing, the Paladin just keeps coming at you. And even this board now is actually just difficult to deal with, and this isn't really anything special.
It's weak against Shaman's Devolve. But that's all I can think of off the top of my head. That obviously big board clears like Flame Strike, like Volcano, etc. But that's it. There's nothing that the Druid has, full stop, that deals with this board. There are swipes, there are Primordial Drakes, great. Great, one swipe deals with 1 minion. Primordial Drake comes out way later and maybe deals with a couple.
Our wonderful admin, Tobias, has come up with a stat for us. Syntherius is the first player into the top 16.
Yeah.
He has gone 7-0, but not only that, he has won 21 games and only lost 8 in the whole tournament. That is 72.5% game win rate. And it will be interesting to see how he keeps his nerve going into the top 16 later today.
That is an insane win. Can you imagine only losing 8 individual games of Hearthstone in 7 series?
I lose that many in 8 games.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Cydonia is just beating Bloodyface until his name actually is going to suit him at the end of this particular game, I think.
And that was me thinking that it was Cydonia ending up with the Bloodyface earlier during the Pirate Warrior game. I guess there's a lot of damage to share around in this world of Hearthstone. It's turn 5. Bloodyface has 13 health. Oh dear. That's the secret going off. Getaway Kodo gonna pop Murloc Tidecaller back in the hand. That's just gonna get big again. What is it with powerful 1-drops? Powerful 1-mana Murlocs. I don't like it.
Yeah, well, we've lived with them for many years, our Murloc Overlords, and didn't really realize what they were doing to us. And if only we'd spotted it sooner, because now they're taking over the planet. That's too dramatic, right?
It's a little dramatic. Okay. It's a little dramatic. But there's a lot of things that have worked out in the Murloc's favor recently. A lot of extra support like Rockpool Hunters, etc. The fact that Hydrologist is also a Murloc and that the Murlocs synergize pretty well with the cheap secrets, bringing them back to life, adding them back to the hand, getting the buffs off again. There's just a lot of things going right for the Murlocs these days.
I think Hydrologist was one of the big revelations of this set. Mm-hmm. I think when everybody looked, it's like, oh, it's a 2/2 for 2.
Yeah.
I want something powerful. Oh, I get a Paladin Secret. Yeah. I don't want Paladin Secrets. They're kind of rubbish.
Turns out, Paladin Secrets, when you add them to your hand for free, yeah, okay, you have to play them for 1 mana, but still. The fact they're very versatile. Discover in general. That is the strength of Discover.
And there's only 5 to choose from, so you get the one you want 60% of the time if you're looking for something suspicious, whatever that word is. And sometimes you're looking for either Noble Sacrifice or Redemption. Yep. In which case you're like 80% to get the card you're looking for, because they do often the same thing.
So Bloodyface would love to just drop Aya Blackpaw here, but needs to find a way to survive. I don't see that there is one. If he's got to clear this board, then he's got to play Swipe. And that doesn't achieve all that much.
Does not.
He also has to try and work out what the secret is. We see it's Repentance, so at least one of these Murlocs isn't going to be coming back to life right now. Bloodyface has to consider now is the Noble Sacrifice. Now he'll know exactly what it is.
All right.
The swipe tested for Redemption, for Getaway Kodo, and for Eye for an Eye.
Megasaur can be a win here.
Nope. Not quite.
Not a win, and actually not good at all. Not getting plants, not getting any sort of buff, not getting Wind Fury. Any of those things would have been effectively the game.
Yeah, and Poisonous is kind of useless when the next minion your opponent's summoning is going to end up with 1 health. Then again, it is Io, it's got the Death Rattle, so Cydonia going to be able to clear stuff if he needs to, but he just doesn't need to. 6, 7, 8, 9, 13. That's going to be lethal anyway, so it wasn't too much of a disaster. Just lethal on board, right there. Fine Cleaver as well adds to it, but Cydonia is not going to want to give away that information, although Bloodyface probably knows this deck card for card. Let's be realistic.
Yeah, you would think so. This is the 3rd match of the day that we have shown, and it is the 5th game of the day.
Wow. Unlike yesterday, where we actually had a lot of sweeps on stream yesterday.
You speak for yourself, you did like 4 in one round that were like 3-0, 3-0, 3-1, 3-0.
Yeah, round 4 of yesterday's Swiss was brutal if you were sat on the receiving end of that.
Some of us were casting like 9-hour-long Priest Mirrors.
Yes.
Which was one of the most entertaining casts in some time, if you didn't see that yesterday. Ant versus Astrogation just slugged it out over this never-ending supply of packs. We're talking about it a lot because it was so unusual. But now we're going to get into this important game 5. It is going to be 2 of the best decks in the format. The Token Evolved Shaman and the Hoi Deathwing Paladin.
Do you know how I know that these are 2 of the best decks in the format? Because when I look back at the bans, Cydonia's Shaman was banned, Bloodyface's Paladin was banned. So they're both playing the deck that they had banned from their opponent.
See which one works out to be the right one.
Right, which was the correct ban? Let's find out.
Interesting, yesterday we were talking in the Frozen match that Frozen won the Mind Games against Cyan because he didn't ban Mage, which got his Rogue banned. That Mage reverse swept him.
Yeah, that was an interesting one.
He didn't ban it because it was he won the Mind Games, but actually it reverse swept him anyway, so maybe he should have banned it. It's all really weird in hindsight.
Sometimes Mind Games just aren't good enough. Sometimes playing to the numbers is just the right way to go.
Numbers, yes.
I know you like your numbers, Neil.
Yeah, apart from my age, because I haven't got enough numbers to fit on the page anymore. All right,
how old are you?
I am, I think someone said I was 63.
Is that our best estimate? Okay. Did you forget how old you are?
I was very young at the time, so I don't remember it very well.
Okay.
Okay. Bloodyface getting the early board control. Cydonia with the coin is going to be able to wrestle that back over the next couple of turns, but Bloodyface's curve is pretty juicy.
Yeah, it's hard to compete with that. Cydonia going to do his best. Hydrologist is kind of too weak here. Paladin Secrets, none of them are looking that strong in this position. Rockpool Hunter is much stronger against this board, but then he's got to play one without getting the buff. Looks like it's probably the way to go anyway, but he's not going to feel good about it.
Yeah, he's got to challenge the board somehow. Rockpool Hunter does that pretty well. Well, it doesn't do it pretty well. It does it kind of okay-ish. More to the point.
Definitely think that Bloodyface is the favorite here. We talk about this matchup a lot because these are 2 of the best decks in the game, and the fact that Devolve exists does make it harder for the Paladin. Devolve gets rid of all Murloc synergies. Devolve gets rid of Spike Ridge Steed.
All right, he's going to see what secret he can get. He's got a plan. I'm not sure what the plan is, but if he goes to the Hydrologist, he's thinking of playing a secret immediately. All right, he's going to the thing that we liked. Good man.
So he doesn't have a plan.
So he has the same plan as us, which is help.
Yeah, that's my plan right now if I'm Cydonia. This Shaman board just getting bigger and bigger. I think it was Amnesiac we saw play a game with this deck yesterday where he just had a board and it just got bigger and bigger, and he made sure he had 7 minions on the board every single turn.
All right, Finger's a plan.
Okay, Finger's a plan. I like the Finger plan.
It's just a 1-card plan.
Hydrologist plus Secret may have to be the way to go this turn, but next turn, Coin Finger. That is the way to get back on this board.
What can Cydonia afford to play around? What can he afford not to play around? Can he afford to just keep challenging this board and hope there's no bloodlust, and hope that he plays around Bloodlust? Or can he just let it get out of control and hope there is no Bloodlust? How he uses this coin is so weird right now. Even if he gets a Finger going, is it quick enough? I think it may be his only chance. He seems to agree.
We're not quite at the point where Bloodlust is representing lethal anyway. Obviously, it's still a couple turns away, but I think Cydonia should have one turn of grace, even when we hit turn 5.
Yeah, although even though it's not representing lethal, it's representing a lot of punches.
Yeah.
But yeah, this seems okay.
Get a Rikodo just for some infinite value. Hey, if the Hydrologist deals with 2 of these 1/1s and then comes back to the hand, then it's sort of done a job almost.
Jade Lightning also pretty important here.
Wow, just going to slam it right now, make it 2-2. Make another 1-1. Right. How much damage is this from the Bloodlust? It's going to be 6 minions on the board. I count 23.
I count 23 as well, which is a pretty important number, looking at that health total.
Very well set up by Bloodyface. Oops. But there's the consecration, exactly when Cydonia needed it.
Yeah, and now Bloodyface is going to have to do that all again.
Oh, my goodness. Snap play there from Cydonia as well. He'll have done the maths like we did, and he'll have been convinced that Bloodyface had a Bloodlust.
Yeah, Cydonia's still not getting anywhere fast, though. Bloodyface is going to be able to do that all again. He's going to get a Mana Tide to stick to the board for a couple of turns. And now Finger is a way to populate the board quickly, but this Mana Tide is going to wreak havoc. Yeah, he's got to do it. He's just got to do it. And he will get some stuff going because of this.
Yeah, so now Bloodyface, he's given the illusion that he has a Bloodlust in his hand. He's going to want to continue that illusion. There's a Doppelgangster. Pretty relevant because we haven't actually seen many Doppelgangsters over the last couple of days. I mentioned it to Lothar when we were casting together. We'd seen so many Evolve Shaman games. We'd seen Evolve, but no Doppelgangster.
Yeah, the Evolves are getting used earlier and earlier as the meta gets more aggressive at times.
Yep.
Or the aggressive decks get more aggressive and the control decks get more control-y. And yeah, often you see the Evolve before Doppelgangster's drawn. Just used to make the board more defensive early on.
Abomination. Pretty significant against swarms of Murlocs, but also harmful against your own board. That's often a problem that these Shaman have and Paladin have when Abomination appears from the Stonehill Defenders.
There is the Bloodlust.
And there is the Spike Steed.
I was going to say, even before that the Bloodlust came, though, how does Cydonia get rid of this Mana Tide totem? Because that Mana Tide totem is going to kill him.
Yeah.
He's going to draw the combo. He's going to draw a second Bloodlust at some point. Even if the first one is used to just wade through this giant Murloc on a dinosaur, I think Raven would like me to say, so I am.
It is a Murloc on a dinosaur.
Such a fanboy. But you're right.
It's just what the card does, right? Murloc hops onto Stegodon. They become best friends and fight crime together.
Next week in Falcone Roleplays. Coming up, dinosaurs and Murlocs.
Where's Raven when you need
a love story.
But I think Spike Steed is the play here. Jokes aside, he needs to put up some way of defending himself against the Bloodlust, which he believes Bloodyface has. Wrong order. Darn it, Tidecaller.
Yeah, the order actually matters on those. It would have got buffed if they come out the other way around. One of the stranger interactions of the game.
Yeah. Finja actually summons 2 Murlocs one at a time.
Flametongue Totem and Bloodlust are going to combine for a lot, I think is the official term of damage here.
That sounds pretty official to me.
And all the time, this Mana Tide is just ticking away.
So 29 damage total is what I count from the Flametongue Bloodlust.
Okay.
Finja has 9 health, so that's 20 damage, and Stegodon has 6, that's another 6. So
was that allowing for redraws? Was that allowing for extra Flametongue buffs when the first thing dies?
It wasn't, actually.
So there's more than 29, depending on how many things do.
So we need to get counting creatively here. I still believe that it's not lethal.
It's not lethal because he's got to bust through all this, but
the Stegodon as well becomes a problem. Looks like Bloodlust isn't even being played this turn.
Yeah, I think he worked out that he's going to just get rid of so much stuff anyway that might as well save the Bloodlust for later.
The only risk that comes with is now, if Cydonia did pick up another Consecration, for example, well, I guess realistically that doesn't clear anything. It just clears the Murloc and the Primal Fin Totem, that's it. So nope, solid play.
And this Mana Tide is finally exposed. Well, it's just not.
It's
just not exposed.
There's still a thing from below on the board. Okay, Deathwing would be great if it was playable this turn.
Yeah, and if your opponent wasn't going to kill you, and if you had... Yeah, it just wouldn't be great for a while here.
Is Tyrion enough? It's not enough, is it? It's nowhere near enough.
No. Do I say no? Just double check.
Yeah, it's not.
Doesn't look like enough.
Bloodlust, say, for example, Manatide Totem pop the Divine Shield. 3-3 pops Tyrion. The rest of the damage is more than enough to finish off Cydonia. It looks like Bloodyface is going to take the series, knocking Cydonia out of DreamHack Atlanta 2016. What year are we? 2017.
Yeah, and Cydonia, I do feel a bit sorry for him. He is without doubt one of the best players in the world right now.
Yeah. I'm
quite happy to nail my colours to that particular mask. Everything that anyone says about Cydonia is he does all the work for so many different things. He's such a great planner and great player. And at DreamHack, he is just not getting the moment he needs. But he will be back, and he will be a winner of something huge at some point, sooner rather than later. Without
a doubt, he's here representing TSM. Does a great lot for the Hearthstone community, a lot of streaming, a lot of competing. You've not seen the last of Cydonia, not for a long shot, but today you have a Bloodyface you're going to see more of as he moves to 5-2 in the bracket. 2 more wins is what he needs to get through to the top 16 of the Swiss. Great performance from both players. Bloodyface won that series. A lot of that came down to the fact that he won the first game, meant that Cydonia had to counter queue, and then Bloodyface got his counter queue, etc., etc.
Going to the bans, though, the Shaman was banned one way, the Paladin was banned the other. It ended up as Shaman versus Paladin.
One of them is favored, right?
Yeah, exactly. One of them is indeed. So, yeah.
So, yeah, that's gonna be the series. But I believe we have one more set up for you in this round of the Swiss. It's going to be Green Sheep versus Impact. Green Sheep, good friend of ours from back home. We're going to try not to be too biased here.
I'm
but
not biased at all. Impact's a good friend.